Hey, this is Todd with Choice for Christ Ministries. Today is, what is today? Oh, July 29th? Yeah, July 29th, 2009. I was actually going to talk about a different topic, but still will. But this one just happened to hit me this morning to throw up here real quick for those who have a hard time believing in the Bible or in God, or for atheists. Because I talk to a lot of people and get a lot of emails and questions and responses and things like that. And atheism is not a religion, and so there's a lot of people mistake the fact that just because someone doesn't believe in the Bible or God quite yet, or whatever, because they don't believe in the Bible, which is the foundation for Christianity, doesn't mean they don't want there to be God. Because most people, most atheists, do indeed want there to be a God. And for those of you who know me or heard my previous talk, or the Choice for Christ Ministries, I've been on both sides. I've been on, I grew up in a false doctrine religion as the Jehovah's Witnesses. I studied that doctrine and that religion heavily. I went in and out of it, just kind of smoking and drinking, in my early 20s. And around 24, 25, I broke away from it after one key verse, and I found in Matthew 8:11. And then I went for my 7 or 8 years without, just really living a sinful life, so to speak. Immoral, the drinking and the bar scene, and I had my own house, business, everything. It's just, I was very prideful, I just had an immoral life. But the only thing I have been on both sides, plus I've been in false doctrine with the Jehovah's Witnesses. The only thing that I have always had is, all my life, regardless what state I have been in, I've always leaned toward the fact that we were created, because it just really took more faith for me to believe that we evolved from some type of life when there's not enough evidence. It just didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense to me. And the more science goes on, the more it proves to me the fact that with DNA and the simple cell that life, I don't go into evolution debates and stuff like that, but that's something I just always had. Now, that's why I called out to God and asked him who he was, and if he was real, to please reveal himself. And he did 2 months after that prayer. It was very heartfelt, sincere prayer. I was pretty much dying from my alcoholism. My sins caught up with me. Been in detox several times, hospitalized, jaundice, liver failure, seizure. So that's not why I called on God. I called on God because I wanted to know him. But anyway, he came, as you know. So I've been on both sides. And I just wanted to share this with you real quick, that you can find the records of the apostles, the disciples, the churches, and all the way back to Jesus without the Bible. For an example, it took me one day. I did this before I was a Christian, and because I was trying to debate the fact while I was a Jehovah's Witness, if God was a trinity or not, and if the word trinity really was used earlier than they said it was. And I found out, but in one setting, just walking into the library through Britannica, encyclopedias, and reliable sources, I traced it all the way down to 2012 AD with Tertullian and the word Trinitarius. He first used the word Trinitarius, which was implying the Trinity of God. Now, and from that point you could go up to the 381 at Constanople, where they had the meeting and declared the Holy Spirit. They officially declared the Holy Spirit, Jesus and the Father, to be God, and officially, put the books known as what we know as the Bible. But then they mixed it with the state, so to speak. So it became Christianity right around the 400th century became mixed in with the state. And so that's when the Catholics were pretty good. The Catholics were right along with Orthodox Christianity. That's what they were. But when they branched off, they saw this opportunity. They took a hierarchy, and because they had greater dominion, they started taking these Bibles and would not let them be translated because they wanted people to come to them. So, and they would speak the Bible in their sanctuary to anyone, but they would allow only the Pope and their hierarchy to go ahead and translate. To read the translation of the Bible. So through the 400 to around the 1600 century is why they call it the Dark Ages, because people were trying to translate that Bible into Latin and get it out to people. And some people did, but most of them burned at the stake for doing so. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Christians died by Catholics. This Catholicism, I can never say that word, burnt to death at the stake. But what I'm getting at is you can take encyclopedias and you can trace it back, and you can actually find it going all the way back to the histories, what happened right after, Christ ascended, and you can actually find the historical facts with the disciples. And if you go back into some of the writings, you can actually find the different, some of the different ways that the martyrs occurred. Plenty descriptions of different types of ways Christians were martyred. And that's another thing one person's got to ask himself is, why would so many people be willing to be martyred? For something, that would not stick in their heart, for something they would not believe or know for a fact. And that's the difference, because any true Christian would die for their faith. I would die for my faith. Now, see, there's a difference, like with Islam. Dying for religion is a whole different thing. Dying for God is a whole different thing than dying for your faith. Meaning, I cannot renounce my faith. There's no way I can renounce Christianity. Not after I've been touched and healed by God. Not after I've received the Holy Spirit. I can't deny God. And if someone was gonna put a bullet to my head and tell me to renounce Christ, I would have to take death because I cannot renounce Christ. Just as the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that had the same thing. But anyway, Wycliffe, that's where the Wycliffe Bible finally came over. He actually translated it into Latin and finally got it over. And King James is the one that translated it from Latin in 1611